Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion, as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content. So that's going to be our theme song before we actually write the theme song for the show that we haven't named yet, but it's all about Super E. It's going to be all about Super E and his adventures.
What about a dash of A Train and J thrown in?
Oh, we'll throw a little
right.
bit in.
Yeah, a little dash.
Yeah, just a sprinkle. A sprinkle.
Yeah.
So I just want to spring just off the cuff.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm Jay.
Nice.
Yes.
We got
Super E.
Thank you.
And that's A Train over there. Say
Hello.
something, A Train.
Hello.
Right. So he's the brains behind this ordeal.
Which ain't saying much.
Right. But the talent is going to be Super E. You're going to be the brains, and I'm just going to kind of come along for the ride.
You kind of fluff.
Kind of fluff.
The Larry Fine, as we said.
Correct. Of the Three Stooges. That's
Yes. I'm going to get a fiddle, and yeah. So here we go. So my first thought that popped into my head with the name of this is, oh, look, Super E wrote a book. I don't know what you think of that.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
I like it.
There's the answer. So, and again, these are just... I may have come home last night after being out. Maybe I was overserved a little bit. So I sat down and my overserved brain started just putting pen to paper. So the Super E story experience...
I like it. I like that.
He likes every one of them. Go ahead.
I know.
I'm very easy to please.
He is.
Okay, keep going.
Super Stories with Super E.
All right.
Limitless Tales from Super E.
That's good.
That's good.
Talk of the Town with Super E.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I should be driving an expensive car with a top hat.
Oh, my God.
Like Mr.
We're gonna-
Peanut.
Yes. Ernie in a top hat.
Yes.
Like the Monopoly guy.
Right.
Off Script with Super E's Book of Tales.
Not bad.
Super E spinning yarns in Andy's barn.
Not bad.
It's
And
A
then-
Train.
And that's A Train's barn. That's
Right.
right.
That's
see?
fine.
So we already have to correct.
Uh-huh.
Salt E stories from the Big Book of Super E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super E's retired. Here comes the truth.
Okay.
It's good.
Tells to trend. That's some fancy new talk about how things trend.
Right.
Because we're old.
Right.
Tales to trend from Super E's duty log.
Not bad. Let me look at them. Let me glance over them
Glance
again.
over, and those are just ideas
Yeah.
to kind of decide. And
What tickles your fancy there, Super E? What do you think?
I like the Limitless Tales from Super E
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because there's so many until I get done.
Correct.
which is never.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, we'll let you. I like most of them. I'll let the brains decide.
So
on
we
that.
let the brains decide.
A Train.
Or we don't have to name it. What we could do is, as this starts to float out into podcast land, podcast world, could have a contest and let people name it.
Yes.
Although, we open up ourselves to a lot of bad things if we let somebody else name it. I mean,
Well, that could be true, but if they, the winner could win a prize like a shirtless photograph of A Train.
oh,
Well, that's worth some money. Absolutely.
Anyways,
You know what? Let's do this. Just for now, we're going to call it Limitless Tales from Super E.
Okay.
Until we change it.
right. And that's perfect. And
All right.
when we do change it, we're all going to do this podcast shirtless.
it could be like Limitless Tales from Super E that are street level undercover stories.
See?
It's a little long.
That's long, but
It's a
that
little
would be a
long.
little.
Okay. All right.
We can shorten it down.
Okay. We're gonna tweak that.
Right. So we've covered that. Obviously, this is about you. So, man, who are you? Let's go.
Well, I'm a guy that grew up in sheltered, and can I say that on where I'm from?
You can say anything you want, Super E.
It's kind of sheltered, but in 1973, I saw a movie called Serpico with Al Pacino, and he would, grew long hair and a beard, and I thought, that's pretty awesome. And then he was running around and like he was a construction worker, locking dudes up, and I said, that's what I want to do. And then a couple of years later comes Starsky and Hutch, and they're driving around in that big red Torino, and I said, that'd be cool. Long hair, beard, Torino with a 460 V8. So I thought, I want to be a policeman. And so once I got out of high school, I went off to college and spent the 13 years of my life in college, but I was getting a criminal justice
Squeezed
degree.
4 into 13, huh?
But after my 4th year in college, I got hired by the police department in 1984. I was totally stunned by that. And once I got on the police department, it was a completely different world that I grew up with. And I know the same with you guys. And so after a few years on the street, which I thought, this is the greatest job in the world. I mean, every day.
Real quick, let's define what, because one thing, and I don't mean to, I do mean to cut you off real quick. What we've decided, and I know you're going to agree, is we're not going to talk like cops on this.
We're going to try not to.
We're going to try not to. Now,
Right.
there's a few things, that you can't help but. So,
Right.
when you said the street, what does that mean?
That means in uniform. When you got on, went to 16 weeks of training at the police academy, and then you did another 3 months with street training, and then when I came on, as soon as you got done with the street training, they just let you go on your own. There was no driving around on the training sector for 2 weeks. You were out in a brand new area. Didn't know anything. And I remember the first night, I'm by myself, and I'm putting my stuff in my police car because, we didn't have take-home cars then. It was a 84 Chevy Impala.
Nice.
Did you flip the air breather over?
No, I should have. I should have.
I used to do that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember that very first night, it just felt normal, felt right, and I thought, this is going to be awesome. And sure enough, I was on the street for 4 years, and I thought, nothing can top this. And then I had a chance to go to Vice, and, again, Vice was what I saw on TV. And when I got into Vice, I fell into a completely new world that I had no idea existed when you grew up. And we had a captain, Captain Mac. But he just drilled into your head about being for the community. Everything we did was to improve the community that we serviced. And that was like Indianapolis and the poor sections.
Right.
And he would talk about these people, they're doing the best they can to get through life, and they don't need to see crime outside their door causing problems for their family, kids, especially kids. Right. That's what he's concerned about. So that's what was drilled in our head. And this was in 1989, and back then, it's not like it is now where you got to have 15 people, a backup, helicopter in the air, and all that. Right. You just went out and did it on your own. Right. You might have somebody following behind you, but these people aren't stupid. They would look behind them and say, that car's following me. And so you would stay back a long way. So all this stuff that I did, you were basically on your own. And then you would have to, and we didn't have cell phones then at first.
Right.
And so you were just on your own. You had to think on your own and just hope that you didn't get killed or beaten up before your backup got there.
Let me ask you this, Super E. So just describe a little bit. You're talking about working Vice. What's that entail? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, the main focus in Vice was the prostitution. That's what that's what the citizens complained about. The department was broken up in 5 sectors or whatever it was, and each captain or commander that went to these meetings with the public who lived in that area, their main complaint was the street prostitutes. They wanted something done about them. They didn't want to hear any excuses.
So okay, so some people think prostitution. I mean, how does that impact a community? But it screws people's lives up, doesn't it?
Well,
it makes life hard.
Especially the guys who get caught.
Yes.
That's right.
There's a lot of debate about it, but if you're the person that lives in that area, they don't think there's any debate. They say it brings in other crime because if you have prostitutes working in an area, you're going to have a drug house.
Right.
So, and then once you have that drug house, then you're going to have people going to that place to get drugs, and they normally don't have money because they don't have jobs because they're drug addicts. And so they're going to be breaking into houses, breaking into cars, stealing. So that just takes down that neighborhood or that part of the community. It just lowers everything, the quality of life. That was the main thing.
So prostitution lends to the broken window theory.
The broken window theory, yes. Right. And it erodes the quality of life.
Right.
And that was hammered in our head. You're going to go out here, you're going to make these arrests because that's going to help the citizens improve their quality of life. So I had no idea how many prostitutes were out there because I wasn't normally along East.
So back in the day, you weren't picking prostitutes up just in your spare time.
No. Before I got on the police department, there was no prostitutes walking around.
Because in Super E, I mean, you never had a problem with the ladies. You didn't need to pay for it.
The Billy Ray Cyrus soap opera look I had going.
Right.
And still do.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when I hit the street, dealing with the street prostitutes, it was, they just can't train you for it. You have to do it.
Right.
And the girls, they weren't stupid. They were risking their lives jumping into these cars with these guys because so many of them got raped, murdered. But the drugs was too much of a draw. They couldn't control themselves due to the drugs, so they would get into the car, but they would at least put you through some cop tests.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
Well, first it would be, what do you do for a living? That would be the first thing. And you can't, everybody would say construction. I knew nothing about construction. So I would say that I detailed cars because they would check your hands. If your hands have calluses, they would be like, well, you're not the police, and they would get out. And so you always had to know more about what your lie was than they knew about it. It's like one time, me and my partner, I called the Cuds.
I don't think so.
Oh. Anyways, we was in a low.
We are changing names and leaving names
yeah.
out
We'll be
to protect
beeping that
the
out.
innocent. Right.
We was in a low rent strip joint, and this stripper comes up, and we had to investigate it for something. She goes, I look like a young guy with long hair, and he looked like an older businessman. So she walks up, she goes, what do you guys do for a living? And he goes, construction. And she goes, what kind of construction do you do? And I said, paint, and he goes, wood. And we're like, And then she goes, inside or outside? I go outside, he goes inside. And I look at him, I'm like, come on, man. And then she just looks at us and goes, guys, next time we come in, get your story straight before you start talking to people. And we were like 10-4.
Thanks for the advice. Appreciate it.
But anyways, when I was in Vice, they just put me out there, and you just kind of had to go with it. It was learn as you go.
Right.
And I remember there was this one girl, she had the nickname of Star, and she was well known to the guys who had been on, and I saw her walking down the street. And so I pick her up, and she's not stupid. She's looking around to see if anybody's following us. She's telling me, turn left, turn right, turn here, turn there. Mm-hmm. And she's asking me the questions. What do you do for a living? I said, well, detail cars. Where are you from? Blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then, okay, I'm not being conceited, but they would also ask me, why do you need to pick up a chick?
Obvious question. Look at you. Why would you need to do that, Super 8?
I've thought about making you dinner once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. And I would just say, like, I just like a little variety. My girlfriend is, real prudish. And so this girl named Star, she thought, okay. So she had me pull in behind this big house. Mm-hmm. And it was just north of back up. They didn't know where I was. And, like I said, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any good transmitting devices because all the things you see on TV, it's phony because the transmitting device that we had, you go 5 steps and they can't hear you anymore.
Right.
So she starts asking me these questions. She goes, okay, I still think you're the police. Prove to me you're not the police. And you'd always have to say, how do you want me to prove I'm not the police? You want me to do 10 push-ups? And she would go, no, let me see it. So what they would want to see is...
What are you talking about, Ernie?
They would want
Super.
you to pull your penis out because they didn't think...
Okay, if you say penis, they're going to know you're the police. What did you call it?
I didn't... I said, you want me to pull my dick
There
out?
you go.
Yeah, right after that, I said, can I get fellatio for monetary compensation?
Right, yeah.
Right.
But
exactly
anyways,
what you said.
But anyway, she goes, let me see your dick. And so you got to pull it out, and you're in investigation mode. So there's not much there. There's no length nor much weight. So it's because then when the girls would look at it and they kind of roll their eyes, you'd be like, damn, man. And she goes,
I was in the pool. The pool.
There was shrinkage.
So they what she did was, she goes, I can't get to it like that. So she reaches over and she starts pulling my pants down to my knees. And she gets them down, and then all of a sudden she starts doing that slow thing where she's reaching out to grab it, and her head's going that way. And I'm sitting there going, I've got to hurry up and get the proposition before she makes contact, hits pay dirt.
What's the proposition, Ernie? What's that mean?
What that is she's got to agree to perform a sex act in exchange for money or other kind of property or anything like that.
Got it.
So as she's going down, ready to, for takeoff, I sit there I said, hey, I just got a 20 and 3 1s. Is that cool? She's like, okay. Right before she makes contact, I said, I'm a police officer. You're under arrest for prostitution. Well, I didn't realize where my pants were. She immediately jumps up and runs out of the car. I jump up and start running after her, but with my underwear around my knees. I
Nice.
was running like a penguin. And I was going, come back, you bitch. And she was just running away from me like Usain Bolt. And so she ran into this house, and I finally pulled my pants up. And
Good move.
I ran in there, and there was like 4 bums sitting there. And I said, you guys see a chick running in there? No, we didn't see nobody. I'm like, yeah, right. So I lost her. And then about a week later, she completely forgot about it because, she's gotten high 5,000 times between then. So I see her, and I had a warrant for arrest. And I said, I just drive up and I go, hey, what's up, Star? She goes, nothing. What's going on? I said, remember me? She goes, no, I do not. Remember the guy running like a penguin, chasing after you? And she just laughed. She goes, oh, yeah, that's you, right? And I said, yeah. She goes, what's new? Well, I got some bad news for you. She goes, what's that? You're going to jail. This time she couldn't run.
I missed the wah-wah button. Let's try that. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah.
There you go.
That's what it should have done. All right. Okay. Continue, Ernie.
Come on,
Super.
engineer.
But anyways, another side story about Star is 6 years later, I'm driving down the street. There she is. I thought she would remember me. I pull up. I said, hey, what's going on? She goes, nothing. She jumps in the car. I said, well, where do you need to lift to? She goes, well, I'm not really, getting right anywhere. She goes, what are you out doing? And I said, nothing. I thought, she doesn't remember me.
Again?
Yeah, I thought, I was a little offended. How could you not?
You didn't leave much of an impression.
So what do
Super
you
E.
think it is she should remember? The fact that you're just Super E, the fact that you were a cop, or the fact that you probably didn't have a very big,
Well, her perception of the time there wasn't that big, but I don't think that was in the forefront.
I'm just curious.
But when she acted like she didn't know me, then she started talking about how she wanted me to give her a ride. I'm like, all right, because she said she wanted to get something. And so I thought, oh, she's talking about drugs.
It's just the dog.
Okay. So
This is
in
live,
this
folks.
situation, I was going to get a prostitution arrest and a drug arrest. And again, back up, nowhere to be found. I'm on my own.
Right?
So we drive up there, and we go into this apartment. Because, see, back then, you had to go in and do it. And there was nobody to help you. Today, none of this, they would frown on this.
Right.
So I go into the house with her, and I'm meeting her cousin.
Okay.
And there's some, she said there's some gang. She said, this is my nephew. He's part of some gang. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right. So she takes me back into the bedroom. And she, says, what do you want? Head, I'll give you 30. I said, I'll give you $30. She goes, oh, good. I can get a rock that way. So she takes the money. She runs in and gets the rock from the little dope dealer kid. And her and her cousin, who's an older heavyset woman, they come in. They're cutting up the crack.
Right.
And I did get up and I said, what you guys doing? Oh, we're just cutting up this crack. And I was standing behind them. I took my badge out. As they're talking about who gets what, I slid my badge in there, and they go, what the fuck is that? I go, that's my badge. I go, don't you remember me, Star? And she goes, oh, damn.
Well.
So then I had to say, guys, keep your mouth shut, because bad things, you have to bluff them now. When you're on your own, you have to act like there's 5,000 people all surrounding the house.
Sure.
Right.
So I said, don't say a word to anybody. We're going to walk out of here. And then I basically took the dope, wrote her a summons, and then they would help out. I gave them a few weeks to help out with any information. If not, then I got a warrant for their arrest.
Got it. So you turned them into kind of informants.
Yeah. But of course, they didn't come through with anything, so I got a warrant for arrest.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
So I think what we just, real quick, we need to just make sure that anybody listening, and I'm going to let you explain this. While it may sound like we're poking fun at prostitutes or anything, it's serious why they have to do it, right?
Correct.
So let's just make sure that everybody knows that we're not just making fun of people. I mean, they're funny stories,
Right.
but it's a serious matter why they're doing it. Am I right on that?
Yeah, exactly. It's they get either put into this lifestyle because of drugs, or somebody forces them into it because of drugs, and they want to make money off them. But most of it was the drugs, and they could not stop themselves. They would be beaten up, raped. They would still go out and do it.
Right.
Like one girl I saw, didn't see her for 8 years, locked her up a couple times. She's gone for 8 years. I see her walking on. I go, what are you doing back out? I haven't seen you in 8 years. She goes, well, I quit doing drugs. I got married. I had 2 kids. I had a wonderful husband, a wonderful family. Everything was going good. We had a house. She goes, I woke up a couple days ago and thought to myself, I want to smoke crack and prostitute on, and just left her family behind.
And went right back to it.
And went right
Wow.
back to it, because
That's sad.
when the cravings start, they cannot stop.
Right. Right.
And
And the craving is for the drugs, right?
correct.
It's an important call coming in, everybody.
Sakes, that's
All right.
That's our timer.
Oh, that was a timer.
Yeah.
Time means nothing when we're talking to Super
Yeah,
E.
well, hey,
Yes,
right on.
so we're not making fun of them at all. I sympathize with their plight. However, they are on the street. They are causing problems for the community,
Right.
and we have to interact with them to arrest them if they're committing crimes. And generally, when you're doing that, you're going to have these stories happen.
Right.
I mean, there's just tons and tons and tons of stories
Right.
like this.
Which brings us to our close of our first podcast, because we're going to have tons and tons of stories coming up in the future, and I don't know about you, but I can't wait to get to them.
I agree with you there, Jay. We're going to hear some more stories from Super E. I think they're going to entertain us. And you know what? Even if you don't like the police, you're going to like these stories from Super E.
Right.
What do you think, Jay?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody
Yeah.
likes Super E.
Who doesn't?
Well, my ex-wife, and I think
Right.
my current wife doesn't like me either.
Star probably doesn't like you
Sorry,
anymore.
don't like me.
That's awesome.
All right. So that's going to close out the inaugural flight, if you will, of the Super E podcast. We'll work on some names, and we hope you liked what you heard, and hope you'll keep listening.
And I'm going to play the same music that we used on the intro for the exit.
Absolutely.
Because that's all we have right now.
We will
We're
be
going to come
writing.
up with some music,
Yes.
but here you go, everybody. We'll see you again next time with Super E. Bye.